Hello, GSD. Welcome. This is Shanan Steere. I just wanted to introduce to you Sarita Dua, who I have known up on stage now for years and years and years at conventions. And she's going to share some deep, dark secrets about team, time, and just some other great systems. So, Sarita, I'd love for you to start by telling us your story.
That sounds great. And that's not a loaded question, not at all. Thank you for having me, Shannon. So my story, this is, I guess, my 18th year in real estate. And prior to that, I was in high-tech sales and marketing for 14 years. So this is kind of my second full-time gig after doing tech successfully for 14 years. I love everything about it. I'm based in Portland, Oregon, and I have a team. And I think my story sort of evolved from the fact that when I was in tech, I was in sales because I wanted to make a difference. I loved when I got a PO or won a deal, I could see that impact. And as companies I worked with got bigger and bigger, I couldn't see my impact as much. You might say I have a little bit of a hero agenda. That's not really it. I just like to make a difference and see the difference. So I gravitated to smaller companies like 3-person, 4-person startups, 100-person startups. This was all in tech. And the companies that I loved were either unstable or about to lay me off, or we only had one client and that client was going away or whatever. I loved it because I learned a ton, but I actually got into real estate by accident. I got my license just because I felt like I was going to get laid off from this unstable startup. So I'm like, okay, let me just have a game plan. But I never really thought I'd do real estate. And because of that, it's kind of like if you're on the plane and you meet someone next to you and you're like, I'm never going to see this person again. So I can do whatever. I can say whatever. I think it was like, I was very fearless. I didn't have anything to lose. I actually I wrote a full business plan before I started. And I started interviewing different agencies and brokerages to understand what they bring to the table and what it would take to succeed. Kind of like MREA or even like Think and Grow Rich, where the best way to learn success is to talk to people and understand what their gig is. It doesn't mean if you have to copy them directly, but you learn. So what I learned is, one, I wanted to be entrepreneurial because I wanted to see that impact. And besides going on Shark Tank or having a lot of money for a product, I knew I'd be in something services related. So it's like real estate, financial planning, insurance, mortgages, something like that. I never loved houses or architecture. I definitely do now. But what I realized with the real estate is it's people and project management. And that's exactly what my background was. So kind of fast forward 18, my kids were 2 and 4 back then. They're now 20 and 22. So I guess I've been in it a little bit longer than I said. And I knew should join a team. That would be the best place to learn. That's what everyone told me. But if I was going to join a team and be held accountable to someone's standards, I might as well stay in a high paying tech career because I was doing great. I just was feeling like when my husband traveled and I traveled for work, we were playing rock, paper, scissors on who's going to watch the kids. We don't have any family in Portland. And it was important for me to make sure that we had a good system and structure for raising our family. So it's been the best decision of my life. I always think maybe I should have started sooner. But if I would have started sooner, I wouldn't be the person that I am. I wouldn't have the contacts that I do. I wouldn't have sort of the maturity that I got from even the experience in sales and marketing and biz dev before getting into real estate. So that's a little bit about how I backed into real estate, if you will.
So tell us about your education.
Sure. And I love the smirk because I can see it. So I'm a big learning junkie. I am growth minded. I believe the minute you stop learning, you start dying. I will probably thank and blame my parents for this both. I'm the daughter of immigrant parents that came from India for education. They got their visa for a college education. We were taught not to put books on the floor, like you respect books. So it was a big part of who I was. I did my undergrad in electrical engineering, and then I got an MBA. And then just recently, and it could be a midlife crisis, but just recently, I was learning a lot about tech. And can you hear me okay and see me okay? Because I'm losing video, but as long as you can see me, I'm good.
I gotcha.
Okay, good. So I was learning a lot about machine learning and AI and all of these artificial intelligence and platform strategy. And I'm like, what is this stuff? This stuff didn't exist when I went to school. So I ended up applying to MIT and going to MIT and getting in and going to MIT for my executive MBA, which started September 2018 and then ended, I just graduated in May 2020 virtually.
Congratulations. That's a huge accomplishment.
Thank you. It's kind of crazy, but I loved it. I mean, it wasn't easy. I'll say that. I'm in Portland, MIT's in Cambridge, Mass. It was an in-person program. So it's 26 trips to Boston every 2 to 3 weeks for a long weekend, not to mention 15 to 20 hours a week. If they say 15 to 20, I probably did 20 to 30 a week of homework and projects and reading, but I loved it. Interestingly enough, Shannon, I didn't do it to like, oh, I'm going to get into a different career or I'm going to like, yeah, change because I'm sick of real estate or whatever. I actually just did it to grow and learn. And what was amazing is there was 126 of us. So now I have 125 classmates that are VPs, CEOs, founders, doctors, lawyers, entrepreneurs all across the country and around the world. I was going in from Portland, but people were coming from Tokyo, from Moscow, from Madrid, from Kenya. It was just an amazing group. And now I have 125 couches I can stay at around the world, which was very, very cool. It's always about the people.
That is awesome. So let's talk about your team. What is the format of your team? And I know you have a little bit of a funky system, which I'd love for you to explain.
Sure. Yeah. I started as an individual agent. And so got my license in 03. I started 04. From 04 to about 11 or 12, I was a single agent. I did everything. I would get a little bit of help with paperwork here and there, but I was a doer. My first year, I'm giving you this background to show you how I evolved into my team. My first year I was rookie of the year. Back then it was 7 million and about 21, 22 deals. And then I did like 16 million and then 20 million right away. And then I realized the first 8 years I look back, I always did about 50 deals, 20 million. I felt like unless there was an 8-day week or a 30-hour workday, I couldn't really do more than that. Now I'm going to admit, and I may not score points with your audience, but I was a bit of a control freak. I came from I have a tireless work ethic. I came from a pretty intense tech background where you worked all the time. And so there was a little bit of no one's going to do it as good as me. And so I'm going to do everything. And those were back in the days pre-DocuSign. We were running around dropping checks off, scanning scans and faxing faxes. It was way back when. And then I came to Keller Williams and I was still a single agent. And I remember joining because I felt like I didn't get the team model. And I kept blaming when I had a low year or something bad, I would blame the market, like, oh, it's the market crash, or it's condos in downtown or whatever. What I realized when I went to a few events that people were having the best year of their life and I wasn't. And I literally said under my breath, oh shit, it's not the market, it's me. And so I realized that why am I trying to tweak everything and Sarita-ize everything? Let me just sort of do it. So I joined and I got a great transaction coordinator. And one thing that was just fortuitous is I got somebody who came from an 80 transaction team and I was like that 50 limit, as I mentioned. Mm-hmm. My first year, I think I did 68 and the next year 87 with him. And so like, it was interesting. You can break ceilings when you have people that have systems that have already broken those ceilings. Right. And so that was like a big lesson to me, which is like, find people who've done it because then you're going to do it because there's no fear of the unknown, if you will. I then like, I didn't sit there and go, how do I get a team? It just sort of evolved where I'm big on repeat referral business and customer service. Mm-hmm. And it just sort of evolved that, you're sitting at the dentist's office, the dentist isn't booking the appointment, doing the cleaning, doing the x-rays, or doing the insurance billing. The dentist does the exam and they do it really well. And guess what? The person who probably puts the radio ads or the print ads or the posters or whatever, that person's probably not the same person that's billing insurance or at the front desk greeting people. It's a different skill set. And I just remember thinking, why am I thinking that as a sole business person, entrepreneur, that I have to do everything and do it at a high level? So I got help with two things. As I mentioned, I had that TC. I then got showing agents. I didn't, again, I'd love to say I had this great grand plan. The truth was I got some leads back then, some internet leads. And I knew with the internet lead game, if you can't respond quickly, you might as well just flush money down the toilet.
Yep.
So I thought, if I'm going to take these, I better have a system where we can show. And I didn't even have time to interview people. So I'm like, okay, let me just get a couple people and the cream will rise to the top. I'll figure out who will become my buyer's agent. And because it's just a great kind of apprenticeship to do more, but I don't want to commit for anything more. Well, it turned out that model for me worked out really well. I've had a showing agent model. I want to say I implemented in 2011, 2012-ish. So it's been 9 years now. And unlike, I think the classic definition of the showing model, showing agent is, you know, they meet the client and they open the door. My showing agents are either showing agent plus or sort of, I don't want to say buyer agent minus because they're definitely amazing and there's nothing minus about them. It's just that if you look at a pipeline of all the things that need to happen with buyers, they do everything. There's 5 things, I think. They do everything from first contact, cultivate the relationship, they do the buyer consult, they show the homes, and they identify the home. Once they identify the home, they do an offer handoff to me, and I'm the lead negotiator for the team. So my job is I take listings, I write offers, and I coach my team, and I talk to my sphere. Those are the 4 things I do. But if you think about it, taking listings and writing offers really kind of go hand in hand. You're so apprised of the market values of what's going on. If you're a listing agent in this market right now, you get 13 offers. You kind of know best of class, what are people doing right now to set their buyer apart. And then I use some of those same tricks back when I'm writing the offers. Now, it wasn't because, by the way, my buyer's agents weren't good enough to write offers. The truth was, when I brought them in as showing agents, then the opportunity came where I went to my lead showing agent who was just killing it. I'm like, you're crushing it. It's time for you to do more. Why don't you be the buyer's agent? She's like, Sarita, to be honest, I really love this gig. I think of this whole thing as 2 jigsaw puzzles between the person and the property. And I love the match piece. That's my favorite thing. And so the other thing is I have grandkids and I don't like the unpredictability of, oh, I got to write an offer tomorrow, but I actually have plans tomorrow or whatever. Where sure, you have to be available for showings too, but you can be, it's a little bit more flexible as opposed to like a rigid, like we got to do this now because this just came on or whatever. And so interestingly, when that opportunity happened, we had already gotten into a groove with our model. And the cool thing, and I didn't tell them to say this, but they say it, they're like, we're going to find you the house. Sarita's going to get it for you. No one does it better than her. If they're saying that, the cool thing is we've set expectations for the buyer the whole time that this is the process and this is how it's going to work. By the way, I don't think I could do this if I didn't spend 8 years prior being primarily a buyer's agent. I can't say I've seen every house, but I will say I've been probably every neighborhood and almost every floor plan because I did 50 deals a year minimum for 7 years, 8 years. And I was a sole agent on all of them. And that, you know, that doesn't mean I won't go through a house. I'm definitely not allergic to showing homes. It's just that even my best friend who might be looking for a $4 million home, I'm going to just make sure they know that if you work with my showing agents, you're going to probably get into that house faster than if you're waiting for me, because I coach, I train, I might've been at MIT, things. If you're waiting for me, I want to make sure that you have more time, extra sleeps, if you will, where you can analyze that home and think about if it's a fit versus waiting for me.
That's brilliant. I love how you set the expectation of they'll find you the home and you're going to get them the home.
Correct.
So how many showing agents do you have?
So I have 3 showing agents. My best year prior to MIT, which was so my best year to date is 2017. We did 144 transactions for 78 million. in production. And of that, 54 were sellers and 90 were buyers. So that means I wrote all 90 offers. Back then, we actually had 2 agents, showing agents. So the 2 showing agents showed all of those properties. The cool thing is, Shannon, is they've become inventory specialists. It's not like they're just, oh, let me open the door. They, like, at the end of the day, you can have your list of what they want, what their must-have list is, and what their would-be nice list is. But then when you watch them and they're making a face in the kitchen because it's dark, it's like, oh, they don't like dark kitchens. They're definitely not going to like that next house because I've shown it to the Millers and it's even darker than this one. So, like, they're actually, talk about AI and or neural nets, they're actually watching the buyer and tweaking as we go along and understanding there's some things that haven't been said, but that's how they reacted to properties, so that we get smarter. It's not because we're trying to close them. That's not it. It's just that we're trying to read them. And then we're also working off market to be like, we have connections with other agents. We have connections with photographers and stagers. We're always looking for things that might pop up prior to when they pop up. And we're doing that based on the fact that we're out there and we're in relationship with really all of the agents in our marketplace. And we have a good reputation I'm thankful for, because that goes a long way, especially in a market like this.
Okay, so that's amazing. I love that concept. I know some people probably wrote down that quote for definitely. Talk to me about your sphere systems, because you get a lot of business back from your sphere. How do you work it? What are you known for?
There's a couple things there. I mean, one, I'm definitely not the person who's so scripted, like, hey, Shannon, how's it going? And who do you know who wants to buy, sell, or invest in real estate? Honestly, I become friends with my clients, and then it's like, hey, how you doing? And the truth is, systems wise, one thing that sets me apart from other people maybe doing this kind of production is, I know for a fact counterparts of mine that might be selling about the same, they don't know the client's name, they don't know the address, they never met the client. Now, I'm not saying I've always met the client based on the model I just outlined. However, I'm their person contract to close. My buyer's agent job ends when they do the offer handoff to me. And that I'm the person who's working with them with the repair addendums. And if the appraisal doesn't come in, or if they want to run in and get the fridge measured, that doesn't mean I'm doing it. I have a very strong TC and another field manager on my team. But the truth is, I'm their point person. So the cool thing is, after they found that house, that 30 to 45 day escrow, or even in this case, 21-day cash escrow or 14-day cash escrow, I'm their person. They have a good relationship and experience with us. And then they're more likely to call me when they want to sell, because I'm the last person. In fact, they haven't seen that showing agent since that handoff, right? And that showing agent has actually different. By the way, I'm using showing agent because we're talking to real estate people. They are buyer's agents. Their title is buyer specialists. They are exactly specialists. But in our context, because they're not writing offers or negotiating deals, they just haven't talked to that client until, at offer handoff, it comes to me. There's one more thing that happened, Shannon, that I think is really important, and then I'll touch on my systems.
Okay.
When they hand off to me, I don't want to call it commission rep, because that's a really negative, derogatory term for salespeople. But I will say this: no matter whether it's a salesperson or maybe you're on a blind date and you're in your head, you're like, I want this to work. If you want something to work in general, you start ignoring flags that don't work. And so if you're like showing property with the goal of offer handoff, there may be something they don't like about a house and you may have missed it. So when they do the offer handoff to me, they've just gotten on my plane and I'm going to show them the exit door immediately. I'm going to be like, listen, this is how this process is going to work. But before we even go forward, how are you feeling about the house? I know you're interested because we're talking about offer, but what are your concerns? There's got to be something. It's a big deal, right? Are you freaking out? And so we have that conversation. And there are times where it's like, guys, they weren't ready to write the offer, or they slept on it, they changed their mind. But obviously words and actions are two different things. But if we say that we're relational and not transactional, it's really important for them to feel like we're with them no matter what, even if they buy this house or not. So let's talk about those concerns and make sure they feel like we're on the same team. That goes a long way. With regards to systems, like I said, I kind of become friends with a lot of my clients. So there's just a lot of ad hoc texting etc. Probably the biggest thing I do on a regular basis. I'm kind of a Buffiniite from kind of growing up. I did BNI, which is a lead sharing group, and then I did Buffini kind of as an individual agent for many, many years. I do events, but my biggest kind of regular system thing is I send video emails to my entire database. And my brand is Ask Sarita. If you have any questions, AskSarita.com. Real estate questions, big or small, I'm here for you. Here's my gig. If someone asks me a question, let's say a seller asked me, Sarita, should we pre-inspect our home before listing it? You know, I have an answer for that. I have an answer for that in this market. I have the pros and cons, but the fact that they ask me means, oh crap, somebody else might have that same question. That should be a video. So I just do like 1 to 2 minute educational videos. I use a service that transcribes them and posts them everywhere. And it took me a long time. And anyone who's thinking about video, it took me a long time to get over myself. It's not about if I'm having a good hair day or if I've gained a couple pounds or whatever, if I've a new zit on my face. It's about them. And once I kind of figured out it's not about me or how I look or how I sound or what I say, it's about them and the fact that I owe them this information, and shame on me if I don't get it to them. That has become a really great way to connect. Now, here's the thing, the hand raisers raise their hand. If you are not looking or interested in real estate tidbits, you probably delete me or even unsubscribe. But I noticed the people that are looking, I've literally gone into listing appointments and I've been like, well, let's just talk a little bit about the inventory and months of inventory. And they're like, Sarita, we know where to watch your video. I didn't realize this, but I'm actually in relationship with them a lot longer, even on meds, a lot longer than I think I am, because they've been watching my videos and following, or they've Googled me and they see them on my YouTube channel or my video blog or whatever. So it's been a great systematized way 2 times a month to touch everyone with, and they don't want, I mean, nobody wants like I'm trying to think, I don't know anchor women anymore, anchor men. They don't want such a polished news person. Barbara Walters is the only one I can think of. That's like, just, you know, they don't want a talking head. They want authenticity. If you screw up that video and you're just like, you flub something up and you want to re-say it or whatever, you just be yourself. I think being yourself is a huge thing. And I think people try again. I know I follow this one gal on LinkedIn, and I noticed she, on her video, she's always cutting and editing. So it's like perfect, but it's actually so annoying because it's just, she doesn't even have like 20 seconds of unedited video because she's clipped it all together. And maybe it's like the new way to do it, but it's just like, be yourself, because guess what? You're not going to clip and edit yourself when you talk to somebody in person. So it's just been nice to, you know, find a way to give meaningful, valuable information to clients and prospects.
So we here at GSD are huge proponents of video. In fact, we've done lots of interviews about video. We're actually teaching a class this Friday on video. And we actually have BombBomb coaching, because BombBomb is something that we use all the time in our own business. I know people are going to ask, Sarita, what video channel, I mean, you use YouTube. Where else do you repurpose those videos?
So, I mean, I would defer to my vendor who does this for me, but yeah, I use YouTube. I have a video blog. They post them on Facebook. They post them on Twitter. They post them on LinkedIn. They put it everywhere that everyone's looking. The nice thing about them is they do it for many agents in other industries as well. So they're probably also always tweaking to see like, wow, we're getting more engagement on this channel than before. We need to make sure for this channel, we need to do it this way. You have to make sure your videos are not long, are helpful, have text transcription, because, you know, sometimes you're sitting around and you're in a meeting and whatever, you can't listen with volume, but you want to just kind of get the gist of what the video is about. And then we also essentially summarize it in text form for people who are more readers than video watchers. And so there's a little bit, and then they also do some nice graphic inlays, overlays, intros, outros, etc. They send them the music, so they look a little more professional than they are. I just use, I've used my iPhone or I use my Mac. Just, I don't have fancy equipment. I just use like my Mac and photo booth to record them. And to be honest, I'm so bad at it, like that sometimes I do evergreen content. Like I'll shoot 10 videos in a day, and then now we're good for 5 months.
Yeah. Yeah. Is it viral? Is that who you're using?
It is. It's viral
Yeah.
marketing.
Yeah.
I've been a client with them for over a decade, and I
Yep.
highly recommend them.
Yep. That's
And if
a
you go to them, say my name.
yes. Say Sarita. Definitely if you go to viral marketing.
They're the greatest. I really like my relationship with them.
I want to finish our time today with you talking about time.
Oh yeah, thank you for letting me talk about this because it is definitely something near and dear to my heart. I'm big on productivity. Maybe it's the engineer in me and then the MIT in me. I'm big on productivity hacks. And I kind of realized that there's this unspoken rule in real estate. And by the way, if you follow this rule, there's nothing wrong with you. It's to each their own. But it's kind of like, how much did I sell this year? What's my goal for next year? It better be X% higher. I got to sell more and more and more and more and more. And that's great. And that is fine. But at some point, you just sort of wake up, and it could be an age thing. I turned 58 a couple years ago, and that was a nice moment for me to kind of understand I'm at halftime of my life, or maybe beyond halftime and into the third or fourth quarter. I don't know. But, how do you spend your time, and what do you want your life to look like, and how do you design that life? And I realized, like, I could make the same and be very happy, but I'd like to make the same and work less and less. Like, and I'm a big traveler. We've been to all 7 continents. And we just travel all the time. And I just believe, the 2 big things in my life are family and education, and travel is kind of an intersection of those 2 for me. So, I basically set a goal of like, okay, I want to sell the same number of houses as last year. But I remember I worked with my coach on this, like, how do I take 100 days off? Because the normal human has 2 days a week off. It's called a weekend. They get 104 days off, not counting vacation. Why do we not, for some reason, mid-bite, someone calls us and we get all stressed out because we're commission-based and we think we're never going to sell another house, right? And so my first goal was, how do I do 100 days? And then my husband works for a company that gives you a sabbatical. We took 50 days. We went to Asia in 2009. He got another sabbatical, and every 5 years you get basically 5 weeks paid, and you can add vacation to it. We went to Greece, Iceland, and Morocco. And the more and more I kind of push myself, the more I realize, like, it just forces you to stress test your team, right? Like, you put that bucket in the water, you see where the holes are. So, but let me say this, Shannon, let's just say we're going to Mexico. I'm going to Mexico for a week. If I'm going to Mexico for a week, for many people, that's a 3-week thing. It's 1 week of telling everyone you're going to Mexico. I got to go to Rite Aid. I got to go buy my sunscreen. I got to go get my magazines. I'm going to Mexico. Did I tell you to go to Mexico? Then you go to Mexico. Then you come back. Oh, you're jet lagged. You have to do laundry or sunburn, all this stuff, right? I remember one trip we went to Vietnam and Cambodia. And by the way, take time off to do whatever. Take time off to organize your closets. Take time off to go run a marathon. Take time off to learn a new language. It doesn't have to be travel. But this is just my story, so you can take some examples from them. Vietnam and Cambodia, I remember getting on the plane. Up till we got on the plane, I had conference calls, client calls, because I knew I was going to be gone for 14 days and to be in a different time zone. I did have an agent back me up, but I still knew I wanted to take 14 days off, not 14 days plus 2 extra weeks before and after, right?
Right.
The door shut on the plane. My husband's like, okay, what's our game plan? I go, to be honest, I got Wi-Fi for the plane and I got this travel book. We're going to figure it out. So we actually had our 14-hour flight. We were I knew roughly where we were going to stay. We had some hotels, but we didn't research all the stuff we were going to do. And then I literally budgeted, 2 hours for customs and a shower when we got back. And I actually had appointments the same day I got back. And I'm not saying be psycho like me. I'm just saying, whatever your goals are, be deliberate about them. I knew I wanted to have an amazing vacation, but I also knew I had 2 weeks off, not 4 or 5. And so we're definitely, obviously you can hear it in my voice and just my story. We're kind of work hard, play hard. And I love having fun, but then I want to make sure that I earn that right by working hard before and after. But what's cool about myself and my family, and now it's getting a little tougher because they're getting older. So we're my husband and I are readjusting to having our own trips, and then maybe they'll meet up with us, maybe they won't. But what the truth is, just if you are like this, for me, what was happening is on Saturday, I'd be like, hey guys, I'm free for 2 hours. And my husband, when they were little, he'd be like, well, we've got birthday parties bike rides, and a farmer's market plan. So we're not even gonna be home when you're home. And that's what I realized, like actually having a trip, whether it's a road trip, a long weekend or something, that's kind of as a family how we used to sync up.
Yep.
And so we always have something every 2 months. We know there's something we're gonna do. It doesn't have to be Vietnam. It could just be a day spa for a day. Whatever it is, it's something to kind of look forward to and kind of work hard in between those intervals. The last hack I'll share is just, I'm really big on your big rocks and your top 3. I go to bed every night planning my next day, and I know what I need to do. Like, what are the 3 things I have to do for the day? And they're not just like pay bills, do this CMA or whatever. They're like, you know, and do I hit them all? No, sometimes I hit 2 of the 3, but I'm really big on like, I'd rather have 3 things I know I need to do versus, you know, a list of 53 and I feel great that I, you know, knocked 10 out. Because at some point you have fatigue where your list is just always there and then you don't see it anymore. So I'm pretty big on that. I put everything in my calendar, and my calendar is my schedule.
Yep. Do you use a planner as well?
No, I use my iPad now, and so I'm 100% paperless, and I use Notability. So I used to have a planner, and then I used to have like little slips of Post-its everywhere. And now it's just, if I am pretty tactical, like tactile. I like writing to take notes. As I take notes, that's how things go in my brain. But now my iPad, if you will, is my planner. Between my schedule, my email, and then my Notability with my iPad pencil, I can, even if I'm at a house, I'm at least taking notes on my iPad instead of writing in a planner and then telling my, you know, telling something that somebody else what I saw. It's kind of right there. I can send it right to whoever needs to know.
Yeah, I love Notability because you can take that pencil and go, whoop, cut that out, move that here.
Move it over. You can color code it. You can highlight. It's really great. And I'll pull PDFs in there. When I was at MIT, I did the whole thing on my iPad. I'd pull PDFs in and annotate and take notes and doodle and all of it while, you know, just following along, you know, with the lecture. I take the lecture notes and the slides and just amend as I listen.
Last question. What advice would you give for agents who are building a team or considering a team?
So I think people overthink everything. So I mentioned my husband's at a company that gives sabbaticals. That company is Nike, and the "Just Do It" slogan is really the slogan. I think we get, whether you're a team or even individual. I remember when I started, people were like, "Oh, I got to go to Office Depot. I got to go buy office supplies. I got to set up my desk." And it's like, just go find a client or shadow an agent or go tour, you know, vacants. Like, just do something, right? And so with regards to a team, I guess my only advice would be like, if you're not sure you're ready, look at how you spend your time. And is it your highest productive use of time? Is doing paperwork, is spending a whole day trying to catch up on transactions, earnest money, addendums, and files so you can get paid on a closing that happened 2 weeks ago? Is that the best use of your time? So whatever the limit is, whether it's 30 deals, 40 deals, 50 deals, at some point you're going to find that you're overpaid as your TC, get one. And then the other thing, but then I would say, even as a coach, I've seen some clients that are like, I want to have an ISA, I want to have paperwork, I just don't want to do anything. I'm like, that's great. But if you don't want to do anything and you're not in production or haven't been in production or don't want to be in production, then you're just not going to be profitable. Okay. And you're also not necessarily going to be able to add value to your team, because at some point they're going to be like, I can just go buy leads myself, or I can go figure this out myself because my lead agent hasn't done this before. And so I think there's something to be said of like making sure that before you know, there's a reason why people, when they buy a restaurant, they literally wait tables at that restaurant first. They just need to understand the front of house, the back of house, how the business works, to really get the nuances. And I think that goes for a team as well. Don't be afraid to doing it. There's very little you can screw up in this business. But make sure that you're doing it for the right reasons, and that, you know, this idea that you can make $1 million working from 2 to 4, it's not going to happen. It's still like hard work and just working smart, and even writing down every task you do. If you were to look to lose weight, they tell you, right? If you have 7 M&Ms, write it down. Well, if you calorie log because you're trying to lose weight and you think you're eating healthy, but you realize at the end of the day or the end of 3 days, you're not eating that healthy. The same thing is if you take 3x5 cards and just write down every single thing you did, even if it's like for a 3-hour block. I sent this email. I went and previewed this. I talked to an agent about that. I talked about a lender about that. That's your job description. And then you can make 2 piles. What are the stuff you should be doing? What is the stuff that A, someone else should be doing at a lower cost than you, or B, someone else should be doing who's better at it than you. I truly believe my inventory specialists, my buyer specialists, they are better at actually showing property and understanding inventory than I am. I can do it. I've done it a long time, but they are actually better at it. And so we are looking to give our clients a great experience. And so what can someone do better or do cheaper? And if you start logging your activities, those index cards become your first job description.
I want to wrap this up. Thank you, Sarita, so much for taking time with us. Please dip in our group. I know you just joined as a member. And if you guys have any questions for Sarita, this will be posted this Wednesday. Actually, today you're watching it. So have a fantastic week, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me in.